This is KGW News at Sunrise.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday morning. I'm Tim Gordon. Well, things are expected to thaw some today, but everybody's watching that radar this morning as well. We have more snow, could be on the way. Meteorologist Chris McGinnis tracking it all for us. Chris, take it away.
Yeah, I think we do have more snow on the way, and that arrives later tonight after sunset. And I'll get to that in a second. I did want to point out, though, that there is a winter weather advisory already in effect for the Portland, Vancouver metro area. That includes Troutdale, that includes Hillsborough, it includes Wilsonville, and up towards Vancouver. It also includes the lower Columbia corridor, so up towards the Kelso Longview area. Again, that is later tonight, overnight into the early hours of tomorrow morning. Winter storm warnings in effect for the Northern Oregon Coast Range and the Cascade foothills as well. I'm going to walk you through all of that coming up in just a bit, but just to note, our day today is dry and will be mostly sunny for most of the day today. Let me give you the live look for our Rose City Sky camera. And why are we looking down at the roads? Well, because the roads have been the big story here over the last 36 hours, right? And in some cases, as we look at some of these on and off ramps, they are still covered in, I'll call them glacial patches, right? You're going along, the pavement's dry, and then all of a sudden there's a chunk of some thick ice out there. And the temperature has dipped all the way down to 18 degrees now at PDX with a light west breeze at 3 miles an hour. So the breeze has really lightened up. Here's another ODOT camera taking it out towards I-84 out near 105th Avenue. And you can see, obviously, cars getting along and maybe even a little too fast out there because it's easy to get lulled into seeing bare pavement and thinking you're okay, and then all of a sudden hitting an icy patch. So just be aware of that if you're on the roads early this morning. We're all the way down to 17 now in Vancouver. It's 21 in downtown Portland, Hillsborough at 18. As we slip south of the Willamette Valley, it's cold as well in Salem at 22 and Dallas checking in with 19. Same with Sheridan. The plan for today, clear and cold to start and sunny for a good chunk of the day. We get above freezing, and this is great, late morning and into the afternoon. I have high temperatures today, Tim, getting up to about maybe 38 degrees. Clouds move in after dinner. And then I think snow, yes, snow arrives in the Portland, Vancouver metro area sometime late tonight. I'm going to walk you through the timing, expected amounts, and when we see a transition to rain, coming up with our full forecast in just a few minutes.
Okay, Chris, thanks. We'll be relying on you for that coming up. Well, drivers in some hilly neighborhoods around the area still have not been able to leave their homes. Last night, we visited the Miramonte Lodge apartments by Southeast McLaughlin in Milwaukee. A resident tells us a pile of stranded cars is blocking the steep road out. You see them all right there. He took video of one driver struggling to get up the hill.
We have some neighbors that are getting proactive, dumping salt and kitty litter and whatnot around the area, but even that isn't thwarting the ice so far. And I would just like to move this 100 to 150 yards just to be able to reach McLaughlin Boulevard so that I can just traverse the city.
Well, that resident said police could not help much because the apartment complex is privately owned. We reached out to the property owners, but so far we have not heard back from them. Well, TriMet has recovered the last bus that got stuck during Wednesday's storm. At the peak, 150 buses were stranded. Since then, TriMet said all their buses have been fitted with chains. MAX service has also been running smoothly with minimal delays. Be sure to check trimet.org/alerts for the latest on your route. Well, priority number one for agencies like ODOT and PBOT has been clearing these roads for emergency crews. But we've all seen it. They're still struggling and feeling the effects of the cold, ice, and snow. Here's Alma McCarty.
No matter the conditions, be it sun or rain or now snow and ice, when first responders get the call, it's all hands on deck.
It's just a lot more obstacles in the way to get the job done.
In Southeast Portland Friday, firefighters battled flames on the second floor of a home. Portland Fire and Rescue reports extinguishing the entire fire, clearing the house of smoke and making sure no one was inside took nearly 30 minutes. Battalion Chief TJ Leonards explains fighting fires in this weather makes things a bit tricky from the station to the scene.
It's a lot more difficult getting here. As soon as you get tapped out coming out of the bay, the streets with everybody is seen is what you have to deal with. All the rigs are chained up, and the further out you get, all the additional support rigs are delayed. by quite a bit. You can have potential water problems if things are frozen up. The traction and footing for firefighters deploying hose lines into the facility, you have a higher chance of injuring our members.
Luckily, Leonard says his team had no issues today. But in other parts of Portland, emergency crews did have some problems. An ODOT incident responder was injured while helping out on I-205 near Northeast Airport Way. Officials reporting a van driver hit ice on the freeway shoulder and rear-ended the vehicle, despite the flashing lights. Abandoned vehicles and drivers struggling to navigate the slick roads across the metro area continue to be a concern.
A large portion of our coverage does include hills, which leads to people just leaving their cars. Those do get in the way, obviously, of our response.
Sam Q with TVFNR says the goal of his and every agency is to get to each scene safely, reiterating what many in Portland have heard before.
Travel only if necessary and try to stay indoors. Temperatures are going to drop again overnight, which will lead to another refreezing of the melted snow.
Yeah, whenever we have these snow events, something we hear quite often is that the roads don't seem as bad in Washington as they do in Oregon. So we hit the roads to find out if there is a difference between the two when it comes to clearing the pavement. Finally, it's a better day to drive I-5 in North Portland. After the big storm, it is much improved. But to show there is still danger out there, watch this car lose it on I-84 this morning near exit 2. Snow and ice and crash.
We're making real progress on the roads.
ODOT's Don Hamilton says despite problem spots, it is much better. And like a prize fighter, Oregon is making a comeback.
It was a really hard hit that we took, and I think we're recovering from it right now. And I think just 24, 48 hours later, and we're coming out of it.
A far cry from late Wednesday into Thursday when it was chaos and gridlock. But a lot of people who drive both Oregon and Washington tell us it's often better up in the Evergreen State, especially along I-5.
Well, Portland very clearly has traffic issues. It does clear up a lot as soon as you cross over.
This young man doesn't blame ODOT. He just thinks there's more challenges in Oregon over Washington.
WashDOT does well. I think ODOT does well in a much more complicated system.
Hamilton agrees with that and explains it further.
Clark County is mostly flat and straight. In Portland, in the Portland area, we have a much more complicated system with a lot of bridges, a lot of flyover ramps, and a lot more interstate highways that we have to deal with.
Hamilton also says the Portland side has a lot of commercial truck traffic with lots of truck drivers not chaining up, causing huge backups like this.
I-5, SR14, I-205 are plowed, clear, and open.
We also checked in with WashDOT. The spokesperson says their snow load was less this time around, and there are other factors.
Well, I think we just had it a little bit easier. Snow levels were different, elevation levels are different, geography is different. So Washington to Oregon is really an apples to oranges comparison.
The difference is dramatic. You hit Washington and the roads are more maintained. It's like
Sarah Tyree isn't convinced. She says her interstate commute from Beaverton to Washington State on Wednesday was a complete nightmare. What, do you have any love for ODOT?
I don't know, and maybe not after this experience.
7 hours is a long time.
Yeah, it is.
7.5 hours, she said, actually. So you can understand the frustration there. We did talk to some other drivers, though, that say that they do understand that things are more complex, a little more difficult to deal with down here in the Portland area. Well, the Lloyd Center has just joined the list of 7 warming centers in Multnomah County. Both Portland and Multnomah County are under a state of emergency through tomorrow. But Mayor Ted Wheeler is prepared to extend it further if there is a need to. Shelters are also in need of volunteers as many reach full capacity.
I think we had one of our busiest days ever for transports last night. I think it was several hundred people that we ended up transporting. So we're moving people and we're getting them to shelters, and the shelters are still open.
Now, Washington County has 2 warming shelters open, while Clackamas County has 3 open right now. Well, still to come on Sunrise, from the roads to the ring, a high school wrestling team braves the snow to compete in the state championships. How they made sure others got where they were going along the way. And did you know you can watch Sunrise anytime you want on KGW Plus? All of our news, in fact, is on Roku and Amazon Fire. Just look for KGW and add us to your home screen and stream Sunrise on your schedule. We'll be right back.